Howdy, the weather's pretty shit outside, so I'm back in the workshop making some stuff for the gym. Today I'm going to make some climbing volumes, just real basic ones, kind of a half diamond sort of shape. You'll see what they look like shortly. So all you're going to need, some plywood for the boxes of course, some drills for putting it together, one for screwing it together, one for drilling holes in for T-nuts if you want to bolt holds, some T-nuts if you want to bolt holds, if you want to just screw on holds, don't really need them, glue and screws for sticking it all together, saw for cutting it up, and marking equipment. And that's basically all you're going to need to make yourself some volumes. Obviously good for changing some features on the wall, changing some angles on the wall, all that kind of good stuff. So let's get started. So the first thing you're going to want to do is cut up your plywood. Because I'm just using some offcuts that I've got lying around, I'm going to just cut it up to use up as much of it as I can so there's minimum waste. So I'm just going to grab my straight edge, mark it straight down the middle, and then set my power saw to 45 degrees, so when I cut it through, the box is going to sit nice and flat against the wall. That'll all kind of show up shortly. So let's cut up some of this plywood and we'll be good to go. So as you can see, when you come in close, when you put your blocks together, cutting it through on the 45, so cutting it back on an angle this way, these come together and make a nice flat point on the ground, or when it's on the wall, So we glue that together, and then we'll square off and cut it to length. And then all we do is, when it's together, sit it on here, mark up the size for the back piece, and we'll be good to go. Alright, so putting it together, all we're going to do is run a bead of glue down the edge. Hopefully come out nicely. So all we're going to do is to stick them together is put a bead of glue down the edge, so a bead of glue along here, then some screws in along it. That's going to be all you need for these smaller ones. If you're making something really big, at that point it might be worth chucking in a bit of a back block or something like that for a bit of extra support. But for these small ones that we're making at the moment, some glue and some screws is really all you need. So set it back so you get a nice joint to the wall when you put it on. Fit in about there. Get your screw. The next thing you're going to want to do is to grab your square and square off the edges of the box with the shortest point of the angle. So me to be here, so I'll just get this, mark it through there, do the same on the other side, and then cut that off. That'll make that end nice and flat. So just cut that off. Alright, so after we've got that together, sit it on a right angle corner of your board. Mark each edge to get your length. Put a little mark there so you make sure you put it back the right way. Make life easier in a moment. Mark the other edge and then mark that through with a straight edge. Now what you will need to do, which is the one awkward thing that you might not even want to worry about if you're just making it for a home wall, is to work out what that angle is, because that's what you're going to need to cut this angle out. So if you've got a protractor, that's handy. You can just sit it on there, work it out that way. What you can do if you don't have a protractor is disconnect your saw, loosen off the guide, so base, so you can do that, and then sit the base and the blade on the corner and just wiggle it in and out until you get that sitting just right. So what you end up with is a nice neat little triangle, slots on the end, and we'll just do the same thing we did with the sides. Bead of glue, don't be stingy with your glue. Not sure if I said this before, but it's a lot cheaper than having your violin fall apart and hit you in the face and hit yourself, or at least a lot more annoying, a lot less annoying. Stick that on there and line it up with the corner, line it up with an end, and chuck in a few screws. And there we go. As you can see, fits nice and flat along the bottom, fits nice and flat along the sides, and that's pretty well it for the building the box. The only thing we're going to do next is give it a coat of paint. Conveniently, here's one I had prepared earlier. What I've done is I've used texture coat, but you can stick just mix a whole pile of sand in with your paint and paint it on. That'll give you some good friction on there. And I would say if you're going to stick Tnuts in it, paint it first. There's nothing worse than Tnuts full of paint. So, got your box all painted, ready to go. All you want to do, get a drill with the right size drill bit of Tnuts and drill a couple of holes. You can just do them roughly one through there. One through there. There's not much point in putting a whole pile on this because obviously there's only really going to be small holes that you can stick on there because of the size of the aluminium. Actually, there's no crap around the outside. Hammer it in. You end up with your Tnuts in the back like that, and you can bolt your holes on the front. And that's pretty well it. That's making a volume. One other thing I forgot to mention, I will stick a link in the description below for a template for this volume that I made. So you can either print it out and blow it up to whatever size you want, bigger, smaller, exactly the same, or you can just take the measurements of it and mark it up at home, mark it straight onto your plywood, you'll be good to go.